and we're going to start with the elementary school improvement plans tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Murtagh to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Tonight we have our wonderful elementary and middle school principal and high school principal here with us tonight. The elementary principals will be presenting their school improvement plan. It will consist of our current data with our students that are sitting in front of us. They will go over their goals, and they will go over budgetary considerations for the 2021 school year, getting a head start on our needs already. So I'm going to turn it over to Lacey Beacott, the principal of the Burke School. Down here, right here. Here's the microphone.
Sit. Stand. All right, good evening. Thank you. All right, so I look forward to sharing a little bit about the Burke this evening. This is certainly something we look forward to each year, and that we get to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing for children at the Burke. So first we'll go through a little demographic data. I'm really just going to focus on currently what the Burke looks like. You can see up here that it does certainly talk about the school, the district, and the state. We have 5.3 of our students who are first language is not English. We have 4.9 who are English language learners. 17% of our students are economically disadvantaged, and 30% of our students are special education. Currently on this slide, you can see our enrollment in 2018-19 and our enrollment for 19 and 20. So our class sizes have stayed pretty much the same over the last few years. We do have a few less students this year. We do have 3 pathways classrooms at the Burke in grade 3, grade 4 and 5, and grade 5. Did you have a question?
Do you just have an extra copy?
Oh, yes. Yep, hold on. Let me go there. Does anybody else need one?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Sorry, I should have asked, Joe.
That's okay.
All right, so our numbers have stayed pretty much the same as far as class sizes go. We do have included in our numbers our 3 pathways classrooms and our 3 strides program classrooms. So this year our current enrollment is 256 students. Here is our ELA MCAS data for last year. So at the top you can see our 3rd grade data, in the middle our 4th grade, and our 5th grade data. You can see at the top we did, in 3rd grade, we were able to move some students up in the exceeding category. Unfortunately, they did go down in our meeting. Our partially meeting went up, and our students not meeting did go down. So that's great. Then you can see our 4th grade data. We are celebrating that more students met and exceeded in 4th grade in ELA last year. And in 5th grade, you can see our data down on the bottom. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I think you can kind of see them yourselves. In math, you can see, once again, the slide is set up the same way. We were able to increase the amount of students that were exceeding in 3rd grade, exceeding in 4th grade, and exceeding in 5th grade. So that was a plus for us. Our math scores were definitely stronger than our ELA scores last year. So that was something that we celebrated across our school with the implementation of guided math last year. Here are our science scores for last year. And then we move on to student growth percentiles. So we're always looking to see how much our students grow from year to year. So you can see last year in ELA, our growth percentiles were 43. That was a little bit below the state. Our student growth percentiles in math were 53, so that was above the state for last year. And we did have moderate growth in both ELA and math. Burke was identified as a school who was requiring assistance or intervention from the state due to our low socioeconomic subgroup. So of our students last year, that was a subgroup of about 43 students. Through a significant amount of work last year with staff, data teams, and leadership teams, we were able to create a detailed intervention plan that we worked with the state on last year that was submitted in June of 19. I can certainly provide you with a copy of that if you would like it. It's quite lengthy. It's a 3-year plan that was implemented this September. So we started implementation for that. A lot of that you will see on the next few slides as far as our goals. So there's obviously overlap between the two plans. Okay. My image didn't come out here, but there was a nice Burke School tiger there. All right, so Burke School strengths. As a school, we focus on student growth and the use of data to regularly inform our decisions. So a lot of that went into also the creation of our turnaround plan, intervention plan, and our goals, as you will see. Internal data is showing that there is increased growth for all students. So as much as MCAS is a point of data, so is our internal data, which is the data that we're constantly reviewing to make sure students are making gains. We have teachers who are willing to try new things and are motivated to research current pedagogy to improve student performance. We're focusing on phonemic awareness and close reading as some of that work. There's strong collaboration for our teachers and a focus on successful integration and modification of work as we work really hard to integrate all of our students together. We did exceed our targets for special education students last year, so that was certainly something we had to celebrate. We have a very caring community. Our students care about each other. We implement community leader lunches, Burke School Cares, high fives for a wall of pride. There's strong relationships with Leahy Behavioral Health. We improved technology integration within classrooms, so thank you for your support in being able to do that over the last several years. Our 5th graders are actively using Google Classroom to make that transition to the middle school easier. Thank you for supporting us in MobiMax implementation, so we are in year 3 of that at the Burke, and our teachers use it regularly, and we had a significant amount of students that actually used it over this summer that we think helped to have them in a better place to start the school year. So MobiMax is an online platform that all students have access to. It allows them to have really leveled activities at their individual level in the areas of math, ELA, writing. It focuses on vocabulary. There's a science component, a social studies component, so it's really, really comprehensive. Students are able to access that at home, and each one is really on their own path of what they're working on, but teachers can also assign lessons that they use in the classroom that carry over at home as well. There's an assessment component to MobiMax as well that gives us a lot of information, especially in the area of math, which we've been able to utilize a lot. Our teachers are using a lot. So it's been a great addition to our STAR reading and getting some additional information in for teachers to be able to create a carryover between home and school with that program. It also gives students more access to books that are at their individual level, even though it is in a digital format at home. Okay. We have a very strong and active parent community at the Burke. I can't thank them enough. And certainly we have outstanding ongoing school safety support from Officer Cochran and the Peabody Police Department. Thank you to Central Office, all the school principals, Mayor Betancourt, the school committee members who always provide ongoing support in our efforts. Some areas that we have focused in on needing growth. We need continued development in small group instruction for both ELA and math, focusing on strategies for improving comprehension across content. So what we've really seen is really focusing on helping kids to understand what the question means, to be able to make sure that they are really answering the question. Giving them graphic organizers and strategies to be able to take the text apart. So I'll talk about that a little more in our goals when we talk about close reading and text annotation. We have continued growth in the area of reading comprehension. Obviously, those are pretty much a repeat, but just ensuring that we have the correct tools to identify the areas of need in the area of comprehension. I'll talk about that more in our goals as well. We need an implementation of a sequence of phonemic awareness and assessments to support that. So we're very happy with the DIBELS 8 training that we received this fall, and we'll continue with that. So thank you with your support for that. We need to support student growth in math with formative assessments and building-based vertical exploration of topics. So that's something we're working on internally. We need a response to intervention in Tier 2 instructional practices and practices and resources expanded for ELA, and begin to implement some tiered instruction in the area of math, which has not been something we have been able to do. Educators are seeking more professional development in guided reading, math, the writing process, and strategies for improving student comprehension. Improving attendance and increasing student connectedness is something we feel we need to do better with, and enhancing opportunities for teachers to discuss students and collaborate on best practices. All right, so here are the Burke School goals. So the first one is to improve student reading comprehension and the ability to respond to text across content. So you saw that on the last slide as well. But as we pursue that goal, some things that we're going to do, we've provided already staff some professional development in the area of close reading, really focusing on summarizing, the use of imagery, and questioning. And so we'll continue to work some more this year. We utilized Keys for Literacy last year, so we were glad to do that. Continue to expand texts that teachers use within literacy to make sure that we're giving kids exposure to a large variety of text. Focus instruction on 2-column notes, vertical pathways for text annotation, so being able to start at kindergarten all the way up and teach skills to annotate text as a comprehension strategy. We're focusing on power words for students, so they're understanding the words that are in questions and question words, and we are dissecting those and working back from 5th grade to kindergarten to see a sequence of instruction for those. Utilizing vocabulary routines will be something that we do. We are working to implement CARS assessments, a comprehensive assessment for reading strategies to help us really identify the areas of comprehension that students need to focus on. So those are all things that we're doing to address the first goal. The second goal is to design and implement what we refer to as a what I need block for intervention within each grade level, and providing opportunities for multiple tiers of instruction. So we have really examined this year a way to implement a what I need block across every single grade level, so that students are able to get their general classroom instruction, they're able to access the reading specialist, and then they're able to get a third dose of instruction through a what I need block where our teachers are teaming and they're cross-grouping students during that time to meet them at their individual needs. So teachers have been working on that through data meetings this fall and identifying students and what they will be working on within those what I need blocks. We're implementing a phonemic awareness instruction and assessment in grades K through 2. So as part of our work for our turnaround plan, we identified that phonemic awareness was an area that we really need to expand for our primary students. So we brought in some professional development last year. We worked on identifying assessments to give them. So DIBELS was a huge part of that. We were able to provide that training this fall. We'll continue to work with that over the course of the year, as well as phonemic awareness screeners. And we have started to work with a Haggerty phonemic awareness program to see how that works for our students and utilize resources from the Florida Center for Reading Research. We're working to increase student attendance across all grade levels. We are having classroom teachers are tracking that with students in the classroom. We have created attendance awards this year. We have certainly spoken to families about the importance of students being in attendance every single day. So it's just become more visible. We're making it more visible about the importance of being at school and implementing some strategies to go with that. Additionally, we're going to develop daily routines and procedures that foster community, self-regulation, and social connectedness. So we have implemented what we refer to as Tiger Time in the morning. So every student comes in the morning, they have an opportunity, that we make sure they're greeted, they have some element of sharing that they do first thing in the morning, so that they're connecting to other students. And then we have what we refer to as Tiger Time, which is really a self-control time, a mindfulness time in the morning, where they can settle in and relax just before they go to their first content of the day. And teachers are using that throughout the day as well. We have high fives for the Burke School Wall of Pride, so students are rewarded for a variety of different tenets that focus on making problems smaller, helping others, and personal responsibility. So those are our goals. We are also working on social connectedness in the sense of the parent community and the implementation of continuing to use our class dojos, providing opportunities for parents to come in and also receive some instruction in the area of ELA and math on how to support their children at home. As we consider our next budget, one of the things that would be very helpful in our area of work is to add interventionists for ELA and math. That's definitely something we are able to implement the WIN block, but it's very helpful to be able to add some extra support during that time to make those groups during the WIN block even smaller than they already are, and to be able to expand it to math. Because at this point in time, we've really focused on ELA and getting kids to be able to read and be able to read the content of math. But we also need to be able to do that same kind of structure for math, and we're examining that now of how we might be able to actually utilize some of our WIN block for that. But some additional intervention would be great. Supporting time for teachers to collaborate, I think that's something that we always look for, is time for our teachers during the school day to be able to have the conversations that so much inform and drive the instruction that we need for students. Restoring our supply budget and restoring our library paraprofessionals, and then just general improvements for security, continuing to make sure doors, the possibility of some cameras as well.
Any questions for Mrs. Beacott at this time? Thank you, Mrs. Beacott.
Beverly, did you have a question? And certainly I want to thank everybody. Superintendent Murtagh, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Lord, Special Education Director Carla, I don't know if she's here. All central office administrators, Mayor Bencourt, the school committee, thank you. Colleagues, school council members, Burke School educators and staff, Burke School family members, and Burke School volunteers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beacott.
I guess this stays on. Okay.
Thank you. Our next presentation is going to be from Mrs. King from the Brown School.
All right. Hi, Lauren King. I'm the principal of the Brown School. So last year I met with the school council all year. We reviewed the school improvement plan that Elaine Metropolis had created the year before. And then we met this year, reviewed some of the MCAS data, and tweaked the goals that we had set in place. So the format is very similar, if not identical, to the Burke's. Here's our demographic data, of course, going down. We do have a high special ed population, 32.1%, and a high needs population, which is a combination of two, either special ed and economically disadvantaged, or special ed and ELL. But other than that, our enrollment pretty much has stayed the same from last year to this year. Ooh, sorry about that formatting of kindergarten. I didn't break it up by classrooms because we have 5 separate classrooms at the Brown that do integrate in for different periods of the day. All of our specialists usually in sometimes morning meetings or sometimes literacy blocks, so it was hard to figure out how many students were in each classroom, so this is just by grade level. But we have 3 classrooms at every grade level, 2 general ed classrooms, and 1 co-taught connections model classroom, which has some peer models and some kiddos who are on the ASD spectrum. Then we also have 2 sub-separate classrooms for our ASD population. And then we have 3 sub-separate classrooms for our milestones classroom. That's our low cognitive students, our intellectually impaired students. I'm going to skip quickly through these slides, but I'll just put them up here. This is a data point that we use to help determine our next steps. But MCAS is tricky for a lot of students. We can celebrate some of the successes that we have. This is ELA 2018 versus 2019. I'm going to highlight grade 4 meeting. and then I'll move on. Grade 4 went from 27% meeting in 2018 to 43% meeting in 2019, so that was a strength. So we, as well, have been identified at a school as a school that's requiring assistance, and that's the same as Lacey's for our low economic subgroup population. So we're going to be analyzing these scores in a lot more detail with Kara, with the data leadership team at the Brown, and with Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed to figure out how we can continue to implement strategies and practices to boost these scores. Math, grade 3, 4, and 5. It's hard to compare year to year because you're also comparing two different groups of children, as you know. So if you're looking at 2018 grade 3, they're the kids that were 2019 grade 4, if you know what I mean. So it's hard to compare these, but they are good data points for us to look at and us to figure out what else we need to do at the Brown to improve these scores. And then science, which only the grade 5 takes. It's based on the science curriculum from kindergarten to grade 5. The fifth graders are expected to take it with all fifth grade language and vocabulary that they've learned over the past 6 years. So trying to figure out what else we can do. The implementation of FOSS has been amazing. It's a very hands-on approach. It's very engaging for the kids, so we're going to continue to utilize that. All right, our areas of strength. We have a couple bullets that I identified and the school council kind of added onto, but the social emotional learning is a highlight, is a strength at the Brown. We have a lot of students who need extra supports in regulating and identifying behaviors and emotions. So we have actually 2 sensory spaces at the Brown School, 1 on each of our floors. We have a sensory path that the PTO just sponsored to buy, so we're going to put it down in the first grade area, which is just stickers that you put on the floors and on the walls for the students to take a walk through, and it helps them get out some extra energy and regulate by the time they're done with going through the sensory path. And we also have a calm down space upstairs that we have some pillows and blankets and a beanbag chair for students who need just kind of to take away all of the extra stimuli. We are implementing the social thinking curriculum school-wide. We have big posters in all classroom spaces in the hallways with the zones of regulation, identifying the how big is your problem. It's language that you hear our staff and students use all the time. And last year, the PTO bought every learning space a Bulldog break box, which is a little plastic box within it, a bunch of different fidgets and squeezies, and then a timer for the students to flip. So if they're getting a little dysregulated, they can go flip the 2-minute timer, the sand timer, and use the break box to calm themselves down. We also are celebrating our innovation and creativity. Last year we implemented a makerspace at the Brown School, which is now stocked thanks to our amazing community who has donated everything under the sun. In that we do a lot of design challenges. We have a 4th grade maker club. We also have started to explore coding we have some Bebots and Spiros. As I walk through the school on any given day, I'm really proud of the teaching staff to see some engaging instructional practices. You see teachers using Kahoot and Go Noodle and Answer Garden, which are some online teaching tools to have technology enhance the instruction. You also see kiddos sitting with chair bands. You see small group instruction and flexible seating everywhere you go. You have kids sitting on small chairs, big chairs, round chairs. Our OT has learned that if some kids sit backwards in their seats, it helps increase their posture, so our teachers are open to anything. Inclusion and acceptance is a highlight at the Brown. Last April for Peabody Gives, we had an Autism Acceptance Month, which went amazing. We had an entire wall that we plastered with every child in the school colored in different puzzle pieces explaining why they're celebrated. We have the COTAC classrooms at every grade level. And this year we're working closely with DESI's Safe Schools to help provide support for the LGBTQ community and help foster gender-neutral classrooms. We do have a transgender student at the Brown this year, so we're working to make sure that her and her family are feeling like they're getting all the supports they need. And our community and culture. Brown is one of the most special places I've ever been to. We have a motto, aim high, together we will fly, and last year we worked with Rob Surratt to build a Lego masterpiece, as he calls it. This year we have a mascot, Sammy the Bulldog, came out and greeted all the students on the first day of school and then came to our first all-school assembly. We have monthly all-school assemblies. We also do morning announcements, and every morning there's something different. Monday, we have Mindful Monday. Wednesday, we do a joke of the day. We do Wacky Wednesday. And then we have some opportunities for student leadership with 5th grade student council, and we also have Environmental Eagles. But there is room to grow. After looking at some of the data from the MCAS, we are very inclusive of abilities and disabilities at our school, but we also want it to be evident visually that we're also inclusive of different cultures around. So we have a couple of things that I've been talking to our ELL teachers and art teachers and different leaders at the school as to what we can do, what else we can do at the Brown to make sure that all students are welcomed into the Brown. With the MCAS data as well, we have an economically disadvantaged population that is not as successful on some of our standardized tests. So we're trying to figure out what else we can do to support them. That backpack program is amazing, so we're thinking what could we stick in the backpack on the weekends, some word searches or Sudoku books or something else to encourage some additional learning over the weekends. We also have students come to breakfast in the morning. How could we do some fun breakfast math games as they're eating, tapping into them? Math and writing, after looking at the data, are our 2 areas of focus this year for academics. And then we do want to improve upon our MTSS model, which is multi-tiered system of support. It's kind of like a combination of RTI and PBIS, so the academic and the behavioral all under one umbrella. We too are doing a win block this year. We're scratching SSR and turning it into a what I need block. We're going to have more data meetings. We need to target our intervention and make them really meaningful. Look at our IST process. These are so many acronyms, right? I'm sorry. IST is the team that if a student is struggling, the teacher brings that student up to that team. You develop an action plan after looking at the data. What can you do for that student? And then we're thrilled this year. It's our first year with Mobu Next, so we're thrilled to help use that in our MTSS model. Any questions with all those acronyms? Okay. I feel like a teenager using all these. OMG. Okay. Here are our goals. I'm going to read them to you on this slide, and then the subsequent slides are going to explain them a little bit more. But we do want to continue to increase our innovative instructional practices by embracing that maker movement with the maker space. The second and third goal were already in place last year, and the school council decided to keep them because we're still working on solidifying them, the inclusive service delivery and the school culture goals. We added a goal of improving upon and refining our MTSS process. Added a goal after looking at MCAS data of improving upon our math and writing instruction. And then we're an amazing school, but we want to continue to build that culture of inclusion for all, not just for different learning styles, but for all. So the first one, we had collaborated last year with the Higgins START team. We want to continue that. I sent out a passion survey to the teachers on the first week of school, asking what I could do to help fuel their passion and help support them. And 19 teachers voted to participate in a Teach Like a Pirate book club, which is so such a coincidence because Chris and Carroll are leading a Lead Like a Pirate book club with the administrators. So we did not plan that, but it worked out nicely. The second goal, we're going to continue to refine our co-teaching model, continue to figure out how inclusion and reverse inclusion is meaningful for all of our students, and continue to work with all of our teachers to provide professional development, pending funding. SEL, a lot of this we're already doing. We just want to continue to focus on it at the Brown School so that it continues to be an important part of how we view our students. The sensory path is new. We unfortunately won't be able to put it in until the summer because you have to strip the floors, but we do have another sensory nook coming. And we're refining some of our protocols and tightening them up so the whole staff has ownership of them. MTSS, I already talked a little bit about that, the data teams and the WIN block, the WIN, what I need block. Math and writing, we're just going to have more professional development and more support and encouragement of small group math, of the workshop model in writing. Small group math is also guided math. And then the culture of inclusion for all, not just focusing on being open and accepting for ability, different levels of abilities, but also from different cultures, for different gender identities, for all sorts of differences, finding ways that we can make sure that the school feels and looks welcoming to everybody. We did last year include a sensory tent at our field day, which was a huge success. Budgetary considerations. To restore the teaching supplies budget from a few years ago. We had the library para, of course, that was cut, and we would like to restore that. And then we had 2 Title I tutors, one in reading and one in math, that were cut last year, and we would love to get that back in order to help us with implement the MTSS system. And then a thank you to everybody. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. King. Any questions for Mrs. King at this time? Thank you, Mrs. King. Mrs. Smith from the Carroll is up next.
I just have to move over a little because I can't see. It looks like the top of my school cut off. So that's the Thomas Carroll Elementary School. So welcome everybody. My name is Tracy Smith. I'm the principal at the Carroll School. Our demographics are somewhat different than some of the other schools in Peabody. As you can see, that most of our percentages, other than students with disability, are higher from our district and our state. So our English language learners right now, we have 18.8%. Our students with disabilities, 11.5. Our economically disadvantaged is really high, 41.4. And when you put them all together and we have high needs, we come out to 57.3%. Our numbers are a little bit down from last year. Last year we ended the year with 616 students, and this year we're at 579. We've staggered a little bit. Actually, our incoming kindergarten this year was significantly lower than it has been in the past. In the past 7 years since I've been there, we've never had under 100, and this year we have 82 students. So we did have 5 kindergartens slated for this year, and then when we saw our numbers were a little bit lower, our 3rd grade has a lot of high need students in it, so we moved one of our kindergarten teachers up to 3rd grade, so we had 5 3rd grades instead of 4. So we have almost 5. We have 4 kindergartens, 5 1st grade, 5 2nd grades, 5 3rd grades, 4 4th grades, and 4 5th grades. So our MCAS data is not that much different than last year. We met all of our targets, so which is a huge tribute to both the students and the staff. We're not requiring assistance. But we did definitely see some areas that we can improve on. Some of our exceedings went down. Our meeting expectations was very similar. So those are our math, that's our math data right there. It doesn't look like this when I did it, but that's the 3rd grade on the top, the 4th grade in the middle, and the 5th grade on the bottom. Our ELA data, same thing, very similar year to year, but we are looking, so our 4th grade, our meeting expectations went down from 44% down to 28%. Our 5th grade was very similar, and from last year to this year. In our science and technology, so we did go down a little bit. We were kind of sad to see that our advanced was 18% in 2018, and we went down to the exceeding is only 5%. We're still meeting, again, our expectations, 36%, which is great. So last year we did departmentalize, and we had one teacher who was teaching science to all of the 5th graders, and we're not doing that this year. We have 4 classes, and each teacher is responsible to teach the core curriculum classes. So we're hoping that that will boost us a little bit. Help with a little more, less transition time, more time on learning. So our areas of strength at the Carroll, one of the big things we've worked on over the last few years really has been social emotional learning in our ELL program. So last year, we talked a lot with Ms. Mertag about increasing. We had 100 students. I think actually we might even be a little higher than that now. We had 101. I think now we might be up to 110 ELL students, but we have 3 full-time staff. So we've actually seen our access scores go up. Those are great. So we're seeing our ELL levels of our students go up. Our social emotional learning, we put through in our character community cares last year, which was kind of a pilot, and we found that it took off. And so again, it's a lot of those zones of regulations. We do a once a month rally for the kids, the I see you stickers, so when kids are caught doing whatever our trait of the month is, they get a sticker and they come down and they put their name on it, and then we praise them at our community rally, which is really great. Engaging practice, so our staff is 100% licensed. They're innovative, creative. I would welcome anyone to come in and see our classrooms. They're fantastic. The teachers do a lot of, there's not a lot of sitting around in our classrooms anymore. There's a lot of groups. There's a lot of literature circles. There's a lot of in between classes, 3rd grade classes working together, teachers working together. So it's the engaging instruction is incredible at the Carroll. So we have lots of areas we can still focus on. Obviously, ELA with a focus on our reading comprehension. We have 2 reading specialists and 3 reading tutors, which really is not a lot when we have 600 kids. So they're working diligently with the classroom teachers to give them some really good practices on reading comprehension. We use them to work one-on-one with the kids, but we really work them to help and coach with the teachers too, which has been a really great practice. We want to improve academic achievement in all of our core, our math, our science, social studies. As I said, we're not departmentalizing in 5th grade, and we're hoping this just gives us more time on learning and less time on transitioning from one class to another. The teachers are continuing to work on the FOSS science program, which is great. Again, super hands-on. Lots of stuff for the kids to touch and see and go outside and be interactive with. And we want to increase our opportunities for teachers to discuss and collaborate best practice. That sometimes is tough when we have one common planning once a month and one staff meeting. But they're pretty creative. My teachers spend a lot of time staying after, meeting with each other, coming in early and meeting with each other. They're very, very dedicated. So some our improvement goals and needs. So the first goal is to improve our academic achievement in all core areas of math and ELA. Very similar to what my colleague said, we do data meetings, looking at our data, identify our students that are performing below grade level, analyzing our progress monitoring with our math tutors, our reading specialists, and educate. We're working this year on educating and instructing our staff on the 7 indicators of the vision of the graduate, which has been big. Our goal number 2 is to implement effective plans, procedures, routines, and operational systems that address a full range. So really just making sure that the Carroll School is a safe place for everyone. We continuously have issues at drop-off and pickup. There's a lot of kids coming to a very small area, and not a lot of kids walk to school anymore, so we're trying to encourage people to walk and park farther away and just walk. Officer Rick is at our school every morning out front, greeting the kids, greeting the parents. We're trying to keep it as positive as we can, telling people, slow down, take your time, it's okay, everybody gets everywhere. You'll be on time for school. So we still are working on that. We've had traffic meetings. There's just not much we can do. It's kind of Kenwood's a one-way street, and North End can be very busy. So it would be great if we could just cut a circle around the school and make it a drive around, but I don't think we can cut into the field. We continue to showcase our high expectations. Last year we did our character counts program, and for March we did 1,000 acts of kindness. My guidance counselor, Ms. Frank, and Mrs. Manning, my adjustment counselor, have worked tirelessly to get this all up and running, and the kids loved it. So we did a big heart, and we hit the 1,000 acts of kindness. Ms. Murtagh came, and we did a big presentation on it. It was fabulous. So those things are so important to the kids. We're trying to improve attendance. Attendance has not been awful at the Carroll School. We have a lot of kids that have some social emotional issues, or parents that have a social emotional issues, and we're trying to help them get transportation to school. And but when there is an issue, Mrs. DeMaria, who is the attendance officer, has worked with myself. The parents are more than happy to come in. We try and help them in any way we can to get the kids to school on time. So we are doing perfect attendance Fridays, which we announce on the a class that has had perfect attendance for the week. We give them a big round of applause. Number 3 is to engage with families in a way that is culturally responsible and collaborative to ensure that all families are welcome. So we continue to struggle with the language barriers sometimes. We have a lot of support as far as the Portuguese community goes. And so my secretary speaks Portuguese, the nurse speaks Portuguese, we have some teachers. We still struggle with Spanish. So we do have a Spanish interpreter that comes in on Monday mornings, and our Spanish population of parents know they can call if they have a question, or teachers know they can use them. But we're trying to we do a lot of translations, but we really want them to come into school and feel comfortable that there's someone there to speak with them. So we would like to increase that time a little bit with our Spanish translator. This is new this year. We're going to do a coffee with the principal twice a year to kind of talk with parents and see what it is that they're looking for, how we can make the home and school relationships. We have had a few cleanup days for the playground, and out of 600 students, we might have 10 show up. So we want to talk to parents a little bit more about how we can get more people to be involved in some of the stuff that we're doing at the Carroll. We have a student ambassador. We just started, so anytime a new student starts at the Carroll, which is probably weekly, how we greet them and their families. So in the past, obviously, we've met with them, it's been wonderful, and then we kind of send the student on their way. So we're working this year to have a student ambassador with them at least for a day or two, that they can ask questions, show them around, and then provide the caregivers with more of a welcome pack, which I think would be really important, and try to get that translated in different languages. And number 4 is to promote success for our students by nurturing and sustaining a school culture of reflective practice. So this goal is achieved by promoting a mindful school community. A lot of my teachers this year have done mindfulness as a goal, which is really great that they're going to be working with their students in the classrooms on mindfulness. Again, Ms. Frank and Mrs. Manning do a lot in the classrooms, but there's only 2 of them for 27 classrooms, so their time is limited. My assistant principal and I are dedicating 15 to 20 minutes of every staff meeting to talk about mindfulness and to provide a professional library for them, how they can be mindful, and then how they can help the students be mindful. So I think that's really important for them. Budget considerations. Obviously, to restore our budget, which was cut in half, so we went from $68,000 down to $34,000. And so this reduction has definitely impacted our ability to provide students with resources and materials at their current performance level. So, the curriculum that we have is, on the 3rd grade level, but how do we reach those kids who are higher and some of the kids that are lower? And a lot of those we weren't able to purchase because we are down to $34,000 and need to do the basics in our school. So we would definitely like to see a full-time special ed teacher. I know that the budget was not what it should have been last year, and we had to make cuts, but this is something that we are really seeing a struggle with. We have 89 students right now at the Carroll School who are requiring specialized instruction. So we have 3 full-time special ed teachers, but when you're looking at the needs of the students, we're having a hard time. They cover them all. We are totally in compliance. But some of our groups are getting bigger than we feel they should. Excuse me. So the smaller groups, as well as if you look within a day, having specialists and lunches and how we get them all into where they need to be and what's the best practice. We're trying to do some inclusion, but again, when we have 5 classes across the board, it's how do you get into all those 5 classes in one day as well as cover. So we'd like to think outside the box. We'd like to do some creative things, but right now with 3 special ed teachers, we're just not sure. We have to just stick to make sure that we are in compliance. So that would be something that I would really, really like to see, for the Carroll School. I think that it would, obviously it would help the students, but it would also help the special ed staff to be able to go above and beyond with the students that they have. And then the other is a building-based substitute. I've asked for that every year since I've been here. More so because, yes, there are times where teachers get sick in the middle of the day or their kids and we have to, get someone to cover. Those don't happen that much. We also need to cover our special education meetings, our 504 meetings, a parent that just comes in that needs to talk to a teacher right now. It's something really big. There's nothing we can do. We have to. We're pulling paraprofessionals, tutors, kids that are people that are servicing students are being pulled off those students to cover those things. So those two are really important for the Carroll, I think, to be successful and to continue the growth that we have, to continue to meet those expectations. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Any questions for Mrs. Smith at this time?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Sure, thank you. Our next principal is Principal Orfanos from the Center School.
Thank you. While my slide's going up, I just wanted to acknowledge we have a number of community members here from Center School. So I have Chrissy Walls and Selma Manzo Predslick. They are two of my parent reps from school council. I have two teacher school council reps sitting in the back being shy, and we have Emily Sakalakis and Devin Lovegreen. They're my teacher reps, and I happen to have two teachers here from Center School, Chris McGregor and Michelle Hughes, and they're longtime teachers at Center School, and they're also the PFT reps at my school. So I wanted to thank them for coming. So. Okay. All right. Oops. What did I do? Oh, it's right left. Okay, so Center School. So Center School, similar to my colleagues, similar data. Our population of English language learners has steadily grown over the last 7 years of my principalship at Center. Currently 19.5 students, English is not their first language. And I would even say from the time I collected these demographics, they've probably increased on a weekly basis. English language learners, 14%. Let's see, students with disabilities, it's a lower number, 10.9. High needs, we have 46.6, and economically disadvantaged, we have 33.1. I'm looking for one slide here. There's one slide that's missing, and I don't know what happened to it because it was there originally, and it was my class numbers. It's very strange because when I prepared it, it wasn't on tonight's handouts either. But what it can let you know is our population has grown at Center School steadily over the years, and we currently have 427 students at Center School, and our kindergarten is a record number of students that we usually hover around 65, 68. We currently have about 97 students. So we have 4 kindergartens, but it's very large. So it seems like the 100 that Carroll School used to have, we have now. So that's something we're looking at. Our 3rd and 4th grade, 5th grade, the numbers are a little lower. It's our early childhood grades, so that's a concern. Kindergarten and 1st grade are high numbers. Right now, 24 in each grade of kindergarten. So the larger classes. State performance data. Let's see. I highlighted just a couple spots where we did see some nice improvement. Last year, our 3rd grade, we again had a number of kids coming in. They were English language learners, some high needs, so some of our scores dropped. But for grade 4, we increased a little bit in some areas for exceeding in English language arts. Just a little bit. We were very happy to bump up for meeting expectations. And then partially meeting, we again reduced our amount. Unfortunately, not meeting was a higher number. And again, in 5th grade, we made some improvements in English language arts. I think a big celebration was grade 4 combined ratings of 53% of exceeding and meeting. For math was actually higher than the state average of 50%. So that was a nice celebration. Let's see, I just want to go back here. And again, in English language arts, we had, again, some improvements with meeting expectations in 4th grade. And again, that's what the state looks at, the improvement in 4th and 5th grade. And also in 5th grade, we moved up with exceeding, and we reduced the number of children who were not meeting the standards. And again, 4th grade combined rating of 58% of exceeding and meeting expectations was higher than the state average of 52%. And then overall, when you looked at 3rd grade through 5th grade, it was 52%, which was actually equal to what the state average was for English language arts. And again, I think similar to my colleagues, but my teachers are very dedicated to small group instruction right through 5th grade for math and English language arts, and being very creative and innovative, and that pays off. We had a huge celebration, a big difference in our science scores. So we earned 4 achievement points in science this year at Central School. So that was our high point. I do think that the fabulous FOSS science program has a lot to do with that. And my staff really have embraced it and have truly teaching FOSS science with fidelity. They use the notebooking. They really use the whole hands-on experiment, so the kids are able to analyze scientific information now. And we're very excited about it, and they truly enjoy learning. So we were very excited about that we improved. And I did take the time to put the state column next door to show that we really outperformed the state as far as meeting expectations. And we did better than the state for not meeting science expectations. So I had to put the big cheer there. I'm just going to quickly summarize. I got a lot of bullets here, areas of strength, because I am very proud of my school. I do think that what we've worked hard on is we've got passionate educators who collaborate with families. We're trying to get more families involved, very similar to what some of my colleagues were talking about, trying to find creative ways for parents who English is not their first language to come into the school through some social events. We also are thrilled with having a weekly consultation with the behavior support team. That has been a huge impact for our school. This year we're bringing in our teachers into those consultations, giving them some tools and strategies. Like my colleagues, our population of kids with trauma and anxiety has increased, so we need to bring as many resources in as possible. With that, we also have great collaboration with many community-based mental health resources. We are doing some nice coursework on blended learning, digital learning. We had about, 8 staff members who took a blended learning course with us with the digital learning specialist from the middle school last year. We're hoping to offer that again in the spring. And we have started the year with 12 staff members participating in the Teach Like the Pirate book group, and we're having a good time with that. It's just nice to be able to read a book and just have good discussion for, a couple hours a month in talking about that. Also trying to work very hard on anything that involves science, technology, and the arts. And again, continuing with our science focus with our garden club, ecology, and our art teachers and music specialists are working very collaboratively with us on the curriculum. So trying to integrate the math and the science needs right into the math and the art and music curriculum. And then we're very excited that we did expand our playground through a wonderful CPA grant this year. So we have a beautiful new playground at Central School with lots of community members who helped us again. It's great. And then we have a slightly improved traffic pattern, but it's ongoing. It's very similar to, again, our friends at Carroll School. The school was designed in 1954, 65 years ago, to be a neighborhood school. And people are driving their kids to school, many who live very close. So we're going to do, in November and in May, just a one-day walk-to-school celebration and really encourage kids who are close by to walk to school. And our school council, our parents have some creative ideas of making it a big deal, just trying to encourage it to have some less traffic. Opportunities for growth. So again, it's just something we want to continue to watch. The number of kids we have, 426, it's 427 or 428 kids enrolled by the week at our school. The class size, we want to look at that. It's a challenge because with that, you want to continuously improve, but when the enrollment fluctuates, your target is constantly moving. Growing ELL, economically disadvantaged and high needs population. We celebrated the 4 points. One of the areas we lost points on the state data was our attendance dropped, and we lost that. You can get up to 4 points. The year before, we were recognized and got 4 points. This year, we got 0. Some of that is helping parents who are maybe not from America originally, where maybe their trends of attending school, it might be, you go, but if there's a family event, you stay home. So we're working very closely with them to understand how important it is to come to school every day. Many families need to go back and visit and help and deal with business at home. So we're trying to collaborate with parents around other alternative times to travel. So we are also recognizing students this year, celebrating monthly good attendance, making a big deal out of it, and making some incentives. So we're hoping that's going to help. Let's see, we want to improve English language arts and math performance on MCAS. The center school, we have limited instructional space and some ongoing challenges with multi-purpose rooms. Our population growing, it's challenging, but I think it's something that our staff's very creative. We make it work, very creative. And again, we never have enough social service support and limited guardian parking and high volume of traffic. So it's some improvement, but we want to fix it. School goals. So first, we want to just continue to improve and expand what's available for those kids who are struggling learners, Tier 2 student support. We've got a lot of great things going. We've got, again, as I said earlier, we've got a good collaborative IST team, the behavior support team. We use guided reading. We use guided math. We're through blended learning and understanding, creative ways to teach kids through differentiated learning. That's helping kids every day in class. Where we have an annex path that we had our OT and OT intern develop as a project last year. We just need to expand it a little bit more and find more break areas for kids. Again, continue to use that flex block time at lunch and recess to provide intervention. So it's like the win block that my colleagues are talking about. Continue to recruit community-based volunteers for small group learning. Love to really work with some seniors from either the Senior Center or Brooksby. I think we have a wonderful resource there, so to try to bring some more people in and explore some grants. I'd love to continue to grant write to get some other resources into our building. Goal 2, to increase technology-based resources. Again, technology gives us another meaningful center so that we can have teachers directly teaching kids in small groups, and then the kids are on task. Again, thank you for funding MobiMax district-wide. It's been incredible. And another resource for our students who are learning on different levels, including our advanced students. Many of our classrooms are using QR codes, and the kids love just using more technology to scan in a story that they want to read and then very independently do an activity using technology. What we also want to do is continue to learn as educators more about other methodologies. And I just listed a number of things, some that my colleagues are using masterfully, and I think we can work collaboratively together. Let's see, and then Destination Imagination is just a very popular creative problem-solving competition that Central School participates in every year. I get to be a judge with the smallest learners in the competition. I love it. We're hoping to have an early childhood group. And again, my art teacher and my music teachers are trying to offer some other enrichment opportunities with math and science. Goal 3, to continue to improve Central School students' ability to respond to cross-curricular open response questions in writing. And that's what we saw when we started to analyze all the MCAS data. It didn't matter the subject area. The children are continuing to struggle with meeting what the standards are asking them to do, and they're rigorous. But we feel like we can help the kids with that. It's understanding how to closely read the curriculum, how to highlight information, understanding the purpose of what the question is asking them. We're going to be doing some direct staff training, upcoming early release day next week. We're going to be working on different strategies that we would like to try in the school, kindergarten right up through 5th grade. So by the time they're in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they can achieve on MCAS. Again, want to focus on writing, trying to integrate a writer's workshop model into the weekly literacy block, really getting back to a concentrated focus on that. And again, just continuing the blended learning, guided math, guided reading, and thinking about, again, and especially in art and music, trying to get some of those abstract math concepts loaded right into the other disciplines. So things like symmetry and measurement and fractions and decimals, and how they can show up across the curriculum. And then again, just to continue to implement the FOSS program with rigor, because I think that was a big factor for us with our scores. And then social emotional learning, again, we can never let go of that. That's so much to consider when we think about the children who come to school every day. Like our colleagues, we've got that wonderful social thinking program, zones regulation, that's being implemented district-wide. We are a Choose to Be Nice school. So we have an additional curriculum with little ones. It's the Nice Mice, but it's character education. And then the older kids, it's multicultural characters who teach the same traits. I was also lucky enough to study at the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics a few years ago, and that's at MIT. And that just brought a lot, I think, to my leadership. And then we have school meeting in almost all our classes every morning, and it's just a nice social emotional check-in. We have collaborative community relationships that I really appreciate, and we're going to continue to do that, because the more we all work together as a greater school community, the better our kids are, and I want to improve attendance greatly, and I really appreciate the new Aspen program for studying the data there. As far as our 5th goal, to strengthen the culture, again, I want to become fluent with the Aspen system. There is a parent communication component. We are now using that format to help with communicating just daily school attendance with parents, but I'm very excited to be also implementing a computer-based report card, so that's great. We want to continue to expand our relationships in the community. We work with Peabody Garden Club, Greenscapes, Tilly's Farm. I'm a founding member of the education board at Tilly's Farm. actually just donated a painting that I completed. It's my other passion, artwork, so I did a nice painting of the herb garden there at Tilly's, so it's just something I'm very excited about. And we want to, again, celebrate the multicultural population of our school. We'll once again have International Education Week in January, and we're really hoping to expand it more this year. Have a walk to school day. At the end of the year, I'd really like to focus in May and June, inviting the families to come in and see the children's work with a celebration of learning. And again, just to continue to collaborate with our guidance, Title I, Special Ed, and ESL department, and have sponsored events. Our budgetary considerations, like my colleagues, restore that supply budget. So, I mean, up to 38,000, maybe more with my growing population. I'd love to explore the possibility of Endicott College fellows to support RTI. We have a wonderful relationship with Endicott College, and I don't think we could do what we do every day without having their highly trained students working with our staff. They're wonderful. Reinstate at least one of my Title I math interventionists. We don't have any this year, and we really do need it. Increase our ESL staff to 2 full-time ESL teachers. Right now we have about one and a half. And continue to provide consultancy, again, like my colleagues, around math and writing, science and mental health topics. Again, center school building, I know that, there's other projects, but eventually initiating a feasibility study would be great. The building's challenging and old, but again, my staff is awesome, and that's what counts. And reinstate the library positions. So that is it. And again, thank you to everyone, and thanks to everyone who came to support my presentation tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Connor. Any questions for Mrs. O'Connor? Thank you. Our next presentation is from McCarthy School. Michelle Zapoli.
So I just wanted to say hello and thank you for having me. So this is my first year at the McCarthy School. So this is really a year for me to learn about the school and the staff, and kind of I'm still learning what their strengths are and where we're going. So I have a lot of the same data, but it's a little bit different because I'm interpreting it as a new person, kind of looking on. And when you hear about our goals, we're kind of taking where we were and moving forward. So the biggest thing about the McCarthy is we are pre-K to 5. Our preschool population, we just added a new classroom this summer, so we're up to 9 preschool classrooms, and we have 3 separate classrooms, which are predominantly the autism programs. And there are some pretty tricky and complicated kids, but they're just adorable. And those kids are really integrated throughout our day wherever possible, and you'll see the older kids helping them. And then the rest of our school, K through 5, we have 2 classrooms in every grade level. And they're fairly large classes except for 3rd and 4th grade, which are some smaller numbers. When you look, things got messed up a little bit. When you look at kind of our demographic data, we're about the district in most things, except for special education. And that special education, that 30%, a lot of that is our preschool students. Being an integrated preschool, we do have many, many students who are on IEPs. And so that does come up with a significant amount of our population. And then we do have that higher number of high needs based on that low income and also our special education. So again, kind of being new, I looked at my data a little bit differently, and you can see I have 3 years of data. So when I looked at it, I kind of took my 5th graders, who are currently 2019 at McCarthy, and I actually tracked them back to 2018 as 4th graders and said, how did they do as 4th graders? And then I went back to them and I looked at them as 2017 as 3rd graders, and I looked at them as their own category to see how that population of students were doing and were they increasing their scores over time. Because I felt like being new, I didn't really know what happened in each grade levels. That's the part that I'm learning this year. So I was looking at how are our students in grade levels growing. And then we can also see where the kids are growing from one year to the next. So you can see, I think the biggest growth that we made was in 4th grade. At this year for the McCarthy, we had 55, well, if you count exceeding, we had 60% of our students in meeting and exceeding in the 4th grade, which was fabulous. And you can tell 4th grade teachers worked really, really hard on that. And if you also look at, and this is our math, I don't know where ELA went. If you look at the 5th grade, you can also see that they also improved their scores too. So I think that blank slide there was supposed to be ELA. I don't know if you have that in your packet. Okay. So in the packet, our ELA scores are similar. I looked at also the scaled scores, and the scaled scores are more accurate, they say, in looking at growth. And so we did overall meet our target for ELA. We did not meet our target for math. We were 0.8 under. We decreased in that. So in science, we made some great gains in science, and these are our science scores. Then I also looked at our student growth performance, and we say that student growth is, we want them to be at an average of 50. We want, they say the range is between 40 to 60. And we're kind of at that 45 mark. I dug a little bit deeper to kind of look at, what is happening with our students. And we're finding a discrepancy. There's a large number of students who are actually doing really well in SGB, and then we have a handful of students whose SGP is on the lower side. And we're kind of digging in deeper to figure out what was going on with those kids and what do we need to do to really support them this year to make them and support them in their growth. So areas of strength, this one I really got a lot of support from staff to write this because being new, I could jump in and make some guesses, but the school culture and the climate at the McCarthy School is amazing. If you hear staff talk about children, they can talk about a need, and it's like this little bump in the road that they're going to support them through. They truly love teaching, they love kids, and they love being there, and that is the biggest strength we have. We're also a responsive classroom school, so the majority of the teachers were trained. There's a couple who have come on who have just joined in full force. So we have morning meetings in every classroom. They also use a language around supporting kids and, talking about their choices. And so that's a really big piece of the social emotional learning that happens in our school. And then we have monthly assemblies and celebrating successes. And that's something that we're looking at even more this year, of kind of thinking about not just doing things because we did it, but doing things that we want to do in ways that really recognize all of our children. And so that's one of the things. It's a strength, but we're also looking at it. Teachers work really collaboratively. They have implemented Moby Max, and they find that they did that last year for the first year, and they found that's been really helpful as a tool to have children practicing skills. And then we did have some strengths in ELA, and our retelling, our kind of that literal information, those are where we answered our questions well. We did well on our writing when we were looking at the conventions of it, the capitals, the periods, those kinds of things we did well in the writing. And then in math, we had some areas where we did well. It was interesting because these are some higher order skills like line plots, fractions, mixed numbers, comparing decimals, and they were skills that they did well on. So opportunities for growth. Again, coming in, I looked at this kind of with fresh eyes. And in ELA, our opportunities for growth are really all around those higher order thinking skills. And how are we taking what's not presented to us in the text, but we're inferring and we're drawing conclusions, and then we're moving to that next level. So really using that information to go to the next level is where we're moving towards. And then in writing, we need to focus on idea development and growing kind of these rich answers and not just like stating things matter-of-factly. Another area for growth is there's random standards in math and different levels that we need to work on. But our constructed responses, answering things, also needed support and needed to growth. And then what we were looking at is kind of really looking at how we're supporting kids, why we're supporting kids, and coming up with systematic ways to do that, and then looking at the support we're giving them and seeing, are they growing in the areas that they need to grow? And so that's where we're looking at kind of putting new things in place, and where we want to review and revise RTI. And RTI's response to intervention, kind of like our different tiers of instruction. So tiers of instruction in the classroom, tiers of instruction with support. So Mr. Smoyer had a fabulous school improvement plan. There were, I think, 47 goals in it. And so when we looked at those goals even closer, we saw that they really fell into categories. So there was a preschool category that was focused on social emotional goals. Then there was a FOSS goal that went preschool through 5 and really focused on the implementation. And we saw that in our science, MCAS science, and those scores improving. Then we had some math goals. We had kindergarten goals that were focused on addition and subtraction, and then in 3rd through 5th grade, they had a math goal around vocabulary. We also had ELA goals. 1st through 2nd grade had sight word. 3rd through 5th grade had long and short open response. And then we also had a school climate goal. So we kind of looked at that, and we said these were great goals. We worked on them. How can we now come together as a school to really work on goals that we work on pre-K through 5 together? And so that's where we looked at kind of where are we going. And so these are our 4 goals, but they're not fleshed out because we've just sort of created where we are, and now we're creating the where we're going to go. So we said one of our big goals is to increase the number of students who are reading on grade level. So we want to spend our time really focusing on that, knowing every child in the school, their reading level, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and how we need to move them forward. Then the other thing that we want to do is we want to increase student-led conversations. We know the more kids talk about their learning, the better they're able to explain it, and then the better they're able to write about it. So we want to start with pre-K to 5, really setting the expectation for what talk should look like, so we can then build on that to then put, how do we put that into writing, and then how do we explain our answers. And since we have so many preschoolers, we want to do a goal that really works pre-K through 5, and then it's easy to take that and put it into place in writing in 3 through 5. The next goal we really wanted to focus on is, again, being pre-K to 5. How are we doing things the same to support our parents? So we wanted to look at homeschool communication and using the Remind app so that we're all doing the same thing, because it seems like last year we had 3 or 4 different things in place. So really kind of coming together and doing one thing to support parents so that they know, okay, I go to this one app and I've got my 3 students and my 3 children, and here's all their 3 classes. And then we want to continue to foster a school climate that supports learning and development for both teachers and students. And so we have these 4 kind of big goals, and we're going to flesh them out to come up with our action steps and what they look like, and really kind of develop our plan from there. But we've just sort of started with this. So from there, we have our budgetary considerations. We did have a decrease. We still have a math interventionist and an ELA interventionist, the Title I tutors, which is fabulous, but they were decreased a little bit. So we're looking to hopefully get that back. Restore the library paraprofessionals. We have amazing parents who have stepped up and kind of opened the library so we can not really have library classes, but at least check out books, because we know if we can't get books into kids' hands, they're not going to be reading as much. So that's a huge piece for us, is the library. Restore our instructional supplies, increase our funding to RAS Kids and Lexia, continue with MobyMax. And then for us, one of the things that's really important is the back of our school is a huge field that just opens up to the road. And so we would really want to get and have, I guess Mr. Swear's been asking for a fence back there. And so this year we did have a child who ran in the woods, and the teachers had a heart attack because they're like, oh my God, the road is so close. So we really want to be able to get a fence back there just for safety reasons. So those are budgetary considerations, and thank you all. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Antoli. We have completed 5 school improvement plans so far. Do we have any questions thus far? Sorry. Sorry about that.
I know how pressed everyone is for time, and I know you're all surprised I didn't ask any questions. I have a list. So I was just going to group all my questions later. But there are a lot of common questions for everyone, and I know going forward it'll be the same.
Great. So, Mr. Mayor, we have to decide what we want to do because it's very close to school day time.
Yeah, I just think it would be very difficult to do all of them in one day, so I think we have to, unfortunately, some of our principals have been here all evening, I think we have to have a second day to kind of take all of this in and then ask some questions at the next meeting as well. So I mean, I think our next meeting is what, November 12th? I would suggest that we put the remaining schools on that day and have the presentations at that time.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. The work of this leadership team does not go unnoticed on a daily basis. We have such a talented team of administrators as well as educators. As you can see through their presentations, a lot of great things to highlight and celebrate, and opportunities of growth that we're all working on together systematically. So thank you all for being here tonight.